Here's the question. How do you make the impossible possible? Simple. Remove the I am, the ego. Now, how do you step into that newfound possibility? With a series of small intentional steps. Never forget, the greatest among us started from humble beginnings. But to truly unlock your potential, realize you're here for something greater. If you're yearning for more than just a good life, let's take that small step together to reach greatness. Welcome to the Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast, where we're talking to those who have gone from mediocrity to motivated, overlooked to overachieving, forgettable to unforgettable. Are you ready? Let's go. Well, hello, everybody. This is the Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast. And I have with me today what I consider a great guy, loyalty beyond measure. And partly because of that, I guess here at K&L, we kind of use you a little bit for that, right? Because you keep an eye on others. This is Dave Brown, and I've known Dave for, a dozen years or so?
Since 2011.
Yeah. So, about 13 years. And about 10 of it now you've been with K&L, the company that I help run, and it's different now than it was, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots different.
A lot of people, a lot of things going on.
A lot of different personalities.
Yeah. Nicer trucks.
Oh, very much nicer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good air conditioning.
Yes. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, God, for those things, right?
The small things.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that being said, we're going to get into your story because before we started, I should have said, well, this is what this podcast is about.
Right.
Obviously, if we're talking about this, we're here to encourage others in their journey, right? Mm-hmm. Now, have you reached greatness? Have I reached greatness? Well, probably not even our own definitions of it. No. And yet, it's a journey. It's a pathway. I like to use the term quest because it's full of hard things.
Yes.
Right? Getting to something great, getting to something beyond where we started, or even halfway.
Yep. Whatever
halfway is. And you've got some spice in your story, a few mistakes, right? That might encourage others that sometimes, not perfectly, but focus sometimes will not save you, but by focus on small steps,
yes,
you get better, right?
That is the key. Small leads to bigger.
Small leads to bigger. That's a good way to put it. So you currently work for us, between 8 and 9 months of the year, and have a house in Nevada,
yep,
right? And that's where much of your family is and all of that, right? Well, is that where you're from?
No. I was born in California and raised in Chicago.
Oh.
Then I came out to Nevada in 1979.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So still a lifetime for some.
Right.
Right. Right. Okay. So a long time in Nevada.
Yes. 40 plus years.
Yeah. And then when I met you, you were kind of traveling around with someone that was in the paving business, and he just relocated a lot and whatever. And you were part of that lifestyle, and then settled a little more, even though this is still away from home.
Yes.
This is like 2 locations instead of lots and lots of them in a year.
This is my second home.
The second home. Yeah.
Good. I'm here more than I am home.
Yep. Right. Okay. So let's go back a ways. Let me just set up the stage for the listeners. You had some prison time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What can the listeners or I learn from what happened there? And you can tell as much of the story as you think is relevant, but what do you think we can learn from Dave Brown in regards to stop and thinking, reacting differently, or while you're thinking about that, the lesson we can learn? I like to ask, because the one of the key words is greatness. What do you define as greatness? Like your
practical, walk it out every day definition.
Sticking to my morals and values.
Mm.
You know, and that's a lot of people nowadays. They're so self-centered, you know, and my values are centered around providing for others.
Mm.
You know, and you know, if I can look out for somebody,
Yeah,
because nobody did that for me, so I want to make that available, you know, for someone who is less fortunate than I am, or maybe more fortunate than I am, that just needs a little bit.
needs
of encouragement.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can be there for somebody, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be.
I often tell the story on this podcast and other platforms that what my dad did for our family is he broke the cycle of fatherlessness.
Right.
You know, he had a father and he was alive, but he wasn't around.
Mhm.
And he broke that for me. He was around in my life, which gives me then more opportunity because I don't have that baggage. I have different baggage, but it's not as heavy as that one.
Right.
Right. And so I appreciate that. So what you're saying is somebody handed you some baggage and you're just trying to release it
Mhm.
and then hope that those around you can carry less than you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Hopefully they can benefit from what has happened in my life.
Yeah, negative or positive,
Yeah.
but certainly negative.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Good. So let's reset the stage then for that time when you made a choice that cost you what, close to 2 decades or something?
5 years.
25 years. Wow.
At that time, it was well over half my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a youngster, and I made some mistakes. I was young and wild and free and running amok and didn't care about anything. You know, I mean, kid growing up in the 80s.
Yeah, we were going to live forever, right? You know,
bulletproof.
Yep.
And it took me 10 years of being in prison to learn actually who and what I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I didn't like the direction that my life was going. You know, I'm in a 6x8 cell.
Wow.
And in all drastic reality, I could end up there for the rest of my life. And that's not where I wanted to be. So I made a choice. And that choice was to better myself, you know, to redirect some of my anger and most of my desire in a different direction.
So you mentioned earlier about, you know, your definition of greatness being sticking to your values. Is that when you found them?
Yes. Yeah. When I
And
learned
it took that experience and then 10 years.
Yeah. When I actually learned who I was. You know, I mean, the bald reality of who I was, what I was.
Right. So the purpose on the earth to some degree.
Right.
And then, of course, all the bad that you've developed,
Yeah.
all the bad habits, all the wrong thinking that's twisted. We all have that, right?
Yeah.
And it took 10 years to begin that process of unraveling.
Right.
That.
Yeah. I found myself on death row for a year. You know, I wasn't sentenced to death row, but I was in there with a bunch of people who were going to die. And I don't know if anybody can do that aspect and not think about themselves, you know, where they're going, how their life is going, you know, their attitude.
Especially when you weren't convicted like that.
Right.
And you have an opportunity to do something,
Right.
even if it's a ways out.
Yeah. And these men, you know, they would sit there and their stories, talk to me. And all I could do was, you know, I'm 18 and I get sentenced to 32 years for a bunch of dumb stuff. And they're sitting there telling me their story about whatever they did, you know, whatever they did. I don't judge.
Yeah.
They've already been judged
Mm-hmm.
and found lacking, and now they have to pay the price.
Right.
But they would tell me how, you know, how they wish that they had opened their eyes a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, these guys are going to die, and they're telling me these things to hopefully open my eyes and change my direction so that I don't end up like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's actually a really honorable thing. You know,
It is.
because they got nothing to lose. They've already been sentenced
Yeah.
to death.
And if they can leave one thing, they're trying to help somebody.
Right. They're trying to help somebody who is in a position to be helped.
Mm.
You know, and maybe it's one of their last good deeds that they do, you know, maybe for redemption. I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever that is to them, sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I saw it as that they're trying to do one last good thing in their
Mm-hmm.
life, you know, maybe mitigate some of the bad. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they tried their best and it helped. It really did.
And it helped you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And others?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't get to share the real them with anybody except other people who are going to die.
Mm.
You know, so if they can, I see it as if they can direct somebody on a different angle in life, not say a different path, but a different angle to that path, it's beneficial to them. It makes them feel like they're a part of life.
Like there's some meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be odd for me to sit in their position. Like you would feel like you had no meaning.
Yeah, you don't.
Why am I eating? Well,
Yeah.
I'm headed for there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So ultimately, so you're out 25 years later. So that was before year 10, and then you started getting real. What did you do while you were in still to improve? What opportunities are there for those of us that have no clue? Clue us in, at least. What was this?
Well,
20 years ago or 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Or so.
I got out January 15th, 2008. And while I was in there, I went to college. I pursued a secondary school so that when I did get out, you know, I could go and have a career per se. I don't use it.
Yeah. But
the school for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's something that I was interested in at the time. I went to college for psychology, business management, computer programming, you know, things that were important to me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to learn as much as I could about me, you know, about who I am, what makes me tick, why I do the things that I do, and how I can make myself a better person.
Mm-hmm. What practical ways did you do that? That'll be helpful for people to hear. Is it through some of that schooling or?
Yeah. I took what instructors would say,
mm-hmm.
and I actually listened to it. And then I tried to apply some of the aspects of what they would say in my life, see if it would change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes it did for the better, sometimes it didn't. And I took what they would offer, and what I could use, I used, and what I didn't, I discarded.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all of us, you know, we use what we need.
Yeah. Not everything works
Right.
for everybody.
Right. And that's the way, you know, I try to teach the guys on the crew, hey, you know, this is my advice. If it works for you, that's fine. Take what I have to offer and incorporate it with what you have.
Yeah.
And develop your own.
Yeah.
You know, and be the best that you can be that way. You know, you don't have to do it my way, because my way is not your way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's our way. Mostly.
It comes from principles.
It does.
Values and principles.
Yeah.
Which of course comes from character.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A revelation of character.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, is that we can learn lessons and teach lessons based on our character giving insight into the values, you know, and then we go march those values out. We go walk them out.
Right. Yeah. If you don't walk the walk, you know, you gotta walk your talk, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be a hypocrite and just
Yeah.
spew all this stuff out of your mouth and it be something different, because people go,
yeah, no respect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Good. So one of the things you've been for us at K&L for 10 years or so, right, is the guy that protects us, the guy that is loyal to a fault from the standpoint of, I'm gonna like you, really, but I love you all. You're wearing the colors.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So tell me where that came from. Is that just part of you that you think you are on the earth for? Or did you develop it? Or both?
I think I developed it because I was never really part of anything. I never really had a family. My mom tried, but my dad was so overbearing, and I was a tool, and I never had someone that I could actually express a feeling of caring, and
either receive it or give it
right
back. Okay.
Right. And I care about these guys. And like you say, I may not personally like you.
Yeah. Or appreciate you. Let's put it that way, maybe.
But, we're all a team. We are part of one, of a whole. And I like being a part of that whole. And I don't want to see any holes in that hole.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to see anybody hurt if I can prevent it.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's emotional, physical, whatever. If I can step in and stop something that's detrimental to everybody or just a single person, I'm going to do that. That's my job.
Yeah.
I see that as my job, and I take my job serious on that aspect.
Right. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And it's, we stand in the circle, once a week or whenever, right? And we hear that almost every time, is that I'm shoulder to shoulder with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
We're at war here.
We are at war.
That's right. It's us against the world.
Yes.
Yeah. And we appreciate that.
And if we don't have us, we don't have nothing.
Yeah. So tell me about your spiritual journey. You talked about learning from guys that are like a determined future. Tell me about your spiritual journey. What can the listeners hear from you that's like, here's the perspective I would like you to have if I had an opportunity?
Wow, that's a hard one. I guess my spirituality grew when I opened my eyes to myself. Really, there's got to be something bigger. There's got to be a purpose.
Yeah. The reason I asked the question is because we talked a little bit. I think I used the word purpose. You said, I got to do something with my life. And that's a spiritual concept, actually. Are we on this earth for nothing, or are we on this earth for something? Well, let's figure out the something. If the answer is yes, then let's figure out the something.
I'm still.
And it isn't right. Me too. And it isn't necessarily a three thing list.
Right.
Right. I do have tendencies. I have characteristics, and I have a certain set of values that, boy, you get me on, any one of 10 subjects and I'm going to come out. Right. Other ones I'll be like, no, I'm willing to learn hear what you have to say, because I don't know much about that. Right. But
yeah, I grew up today. There's something happens to me every day that I learned something from, and sometimes it's, oh, well, you don't do that no more. You got your toe stepped on. And sometimes it's, wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that. And that's, wow.
Yeah.
I like the wow.
New information. Yeah. There's so much to learn.
There is. And, there's, I keep going back to that word purpose. There's got to be direction and a purpose for that direction. Yep. And I don't know fully what it is. I just live it day by day, try to be the best that I can be for that day. Sometimes I fail miserably.
Mhm.
You know, because I revert back to into my old hot head, and then I feel extremely terrible for my actions and the words I've said
Yeah.
because it's in the moment. And most days now I don't have to do that because I feel good about myself.
Yeah, and
things that I have accomplished.
Learn not to do and say the things you shouldn't, right?
You know, they
So-
got a saying, you stick the cotton in your mouth and
Yeah.
pull it out of your ears.
Yep. One mouth, two ears. Yeah, right. Listen twice as much as you speak, at least,
Yes.
if not more.
Yeah. And
Those people that are the wisest in our lives, it's more than that, right? We consider those people a lot smarter than us.
Yep.
It's because they listen way more or ask a few questions with few words. And next thing you know, they're getting insight.
Yep.
Yeah. So was it, you mentioned anger. Was it anger that was kind of the root of what caused the prison time and all of that? Was it a flash of anger or a habit of anger?
I came from, my dad was very, very strict,
Mm.
you know, to the point of abuse. So when I moved away from him, I actually ran away from him.
Mm.
And there were very few rules in my mom's house because she worked graveyard. She was never there at night.
Yeah. And she had him to create all the rules and be harsh, right?
We got away from him.
Oh, okay.
And at the age of 18 in Reno, Nevada, running amok because there's nobody there to put their thumb on me and say,
Yeah.
you're not going to do this. You're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I was left to my own designs, and my designs sucked.
Yeah, let's just be clear, right? They were horrible.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
None. And
Mhm.
that's all the process of my learning to live life. You know, out there running the streets 3, 4, 5 days at a time. You know, that's why I have a little bit of compassion for the homeless folks out here.
Yeah.
You know, I chose to do that life. 99% of the people out there now didn't choose that. It was forced upon them in some aspect in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it be financial, drugs, emotional, whatever.
Something, yeah.
You know, something triggered their despair. You know, and I chose to live that. I always had a house to go home to, and I knew that back in the back of my head. But I chose to be out there. You know, and that ultimately led to my downfall.
Yeah. Of course.
And my uplifting.
Yeah.
You know,
Eventually.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was both.
Yeah.
They,
Good thing to remember is that the biggest problems in our life, the biggest stressors, actually also have the biggest positive lessons for us, right?
If you actually just sit down and take the time to look at it.
Yeah, to think through it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, systematically.
Why did I do that? A lot of people don't ask that question.
Mm.
You know, a lot of people don't ask why, period.
Yeah. Why is a good question.
You know, it is.
It's a good question, especially about ourselves.
That's how you learn.
Why? Why do I tend that way? Why do I think that way? Why does my gut wrench when this happens? Why?
Yep.
Why?
Why me?
Yeah. Well, and why me? That's not a bad question, especially if you're asking God, why me?
Yep.
Because I believe his shoulders are big and broad and he can handle those hard questions and he'll answer.
I still pray every night to this day to God to help me become a better person each and every day, be a better husband, to be a better teacher, to be a better me, you know, and it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
But if you want it, it's there for you.
Yeah, that is 100% true. I really appreciate that. So let's wrap it up. I have a question that I ask every guest that I get the privilege of having sitting next to me, whether it's because I've recorded some of these off in other places, in hotel rooms and just crazy stuff. I take this stuff with me. But here you are at my place. Question I ask is, okay, so you crawl down through this mic and you are in the car riding with somebody that's listening to this podcast. And you got 30 seconds to a minute Maybe they're walking down a path or taking a jog and they're listening to this podcast. I hope they are, right? And you have 30 seconds to a minute, and you get to say something to them that kind of sums up your life, your purpose. This is your last shot. What do you say?
Don't be Dave.
Don't be Dave.
Look at me and be you and learn. Take in my mistakes and see if that's where you want to be. And realize that you don't have to do what I did to be the best you.
Wow, that's a good one.
Just learn, like our parents try to teach us from their mistakes.
Absolutely.
Just look at my life and realize that if I can do and come from the dregs of society and be a productive part of society, you can be better too.
Yeah, better. And maybe even multiplied, accelerated, right? And that's why your lessons, as hard as they were, and as how much of a waste of 25 years was, it isn't a waste.
It's not a waste.
Not a waste.
No, it taught me multiple lessons. And it taught me that I can actually love me. And be me, and other people actually, for some reason, love me.
Yeah.
My wife is, she's the best thing ever. She helps me be the best me every day. I talk on the phone because she's not up here with me.
Grandkids and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're second fiddle when it comes to grandkids.
Oh, yeah. And that's
how it should be. Absolutely. Grandma needs to be grandma for sure, right? Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to close out now. I appreciate those last words. It's just don't be Dave, but be the me, the you that you're supposed to be. And then, you got to learn about it.
Yep.
I'm still learning. 61 years old, and I'm still learning.
Oh, yeah.
If not every day, then at least once a week, I have a new small revelation, at least small. Sometimes they're bigger.
Yep.
And it's like, man, will I ever? And no, not until heaven.
Yep.
And then I'll probably be revealed. And I believe in heaven. Like you said, I want to learn. I believe that heaven's going to be an amazing learning process because there's so much to know. And the God that made it will be there. Right.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be,
it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be different.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
Hopefully I'll make it that way and I haven't destroyed my life with too much of this. And I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that. I don't know, put it in terms of eternal security. Some people call it that, but there's a way to make sure you know. And I'm always talking to the listeners about that like there's tactical things in life for sure, but there's spiritual things. Then we can have hope. We can not just hope, but we can have confidence that even though we're less than, and all of us actually are, God's grace is bigger and willing to save us, willing to redeem us. You used that word earlier. Sometimes it's a redemption thing.
Yep.
So what I finish every podcast with is a statement from Zig Ziglar, and it goes like this. You were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of greatness.
That's true.
That is completely true.
Yep.
We just need to see it.
Yeah.
In us and abiding in us. And God made us that way. Right. And apply it. That's right. And then the last thing I always say, just to finish up the podcast, is now go be great.